Good morning, everyone. Good to see each and every one of you on this another glorious day. Yesterday was really nice for me and Natasha and Sasha. We drove to Silver Spring, Maryland, where and hi Frank, where every year they have a Ukrainian festival there at the Ukrainian church, and it's worth the drive. It's just wonderful. You go there and eat Ukrainian foods and listen to wonderful singers singing in Ukrainian, and also the dancers all dressed in Ukrainian garb from all the different areas of Ukraine, northeast, southwest, central. And the thing about it is, I just see them. Oh, look, that wonderful costume they have on. And Sasha and Natasha can say, oh, that's from this region. They can just tell by the colors and the way it's put together. They know what's going on. Just as I would if somebody was wearing chaps and a cowboy hat and all that, I'd know, pretty much, oh, that guy's from Arizona because he's wearing this kind of chaps. And I say chaps too instead of chaps, which is odd because the idea of that, I'm getting off on something else, but the idea of those is to protect your legs from the chaparral, which we would just call brush. Okay, having said all that, today I'm giving a talk, and I mentioned this last week, that for many years now, I have only threatened to write a book. And the book would be entitled Finding Me After We. And I started it, and I've got sort of an outline going on it. And basically what it's about is when things change in our life and we come to these transitions, we lose a sense of who we are because of things that changed in our lives. So I just wanted to take it from the very beginning here. So anyway, I have never finished this outline of this book, but I would appreciate and anyone who is a true writer who wants to write with me on this, I'm open to it, to help me keep from rambling, which is, I do that enough with my tongue, and so I'm thinking with my hands and so forth. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just rambling my way through this thing. It's not concise enough with chapters and so forth. Okay, now let me start. The first sense that we have in life is very strange in that we experience it only right at and during birth. And that is a sense of you. All there is not connected to anyone else on the planet, only you. And you are terrified and screaming and hollering and feeling the touch of air on your bodies and the sense of sound and so forth. And it's just like, and you have no words for it, just a sense of, how do I get through this? And here's how you get through it. You make a connection. Each one of us, when I say you, I mean the plural you of each one of us make this connection. We get out of the sense of that we had of life only being about us, singular, and we get into a sense of having a connection. And that first connection that we have on this planet Earth is our mother. We are connected one to one with her. We have been connected in such a way in the womb, and now we are connected on the outer. And that is the first connection we have, and that is the first sense we have of a we. There's me, and there's mom. We don't know it, but that's what's going on in our lives. We don't realize it. We don't have words for it or anything else, but there it is. It's happening. And we have this connection in so many ways. We have a connection for food, for comfort, for warmth, for love. We have this deep connection. This continues on, and we may then expand this connection a little bit. The next connection we may have on the planet Earth is Father. Maybe. Maybe we have a connection with Father, and maybe it's just, not very deep a connection. Or it may be an extremely deep connection. In my case, growing up, and for others of you, I hope, you had a good connection with your father. I had a great one. He sang to me and held me and threw me up in the air a little bit and caught me, and I waited for him to come home as I got a little older. I couldn't wait, and I saw him walking up the sidewalk, and I'd run out to meet him, and he'd grab me and just toss me a little bit in the air and catch me and love on me and sing a little song for me and ask me what I learned today, and then we would go inside. We would have dinner, all of us together and so forth, and it was a really good connection that we had. He loved to read to me. I remember all this, and I cherish it, that he was so close and such a wonderful, wonderful man as I was growing up. And I called him Daddy, and I called him Daddy most of my life until I reached a certain age where I had to say Dad, no longer call him Daddy. After that, and I hope that many of you have that connection. I know a lot of people don't have much of a connection with their father because he was working all the time or he was out doing something else. One of the things that my father liked to do was fish and build race cars, live race cars. So he had friends that were doing that, and I missed him when he was gone doing that. But that was something he needed in his own personal life. And as a child, I didn't understand that. But as an adult, I have grown to understand that he wasn't abandoning me, which is kind of what I felt like, or he wasn't making it where I was punished by not by being allowed to go with him fishing or do these things. It was just something he was doing with the guys, with a buddy or something. Next in line comes the family as it becomes extended a little bit. Now, for some of you, you were an only child and you didn't have this experience, but for most of us, I think, we had brothers and sisters. We had brothers and sisters. This is something that happens in our life, and we may enjoy it. We may have moments where we don't enjoy it too much. That's just normal. That's part of sibling rivalry. I was the oldest, so I felt like when they came into life, into our life, that they were intruders in our life. The first one was my sister when I was 2 years old. I could talk, and I don't remember actually doing this, but I was told that when my aunt delivered my mother back from the hospital, and she came in carrying the baby, and she laid the baby on the bed, and everybody was in the house was oohing and eyeing over her and so forth. And then it was time for my aunt to leave and go home. And I turned to her and said, "Aren't you going to take your baby with you?" Because I didn't picture that this was a part of our family. She brought it in, it must be hers. However, and I was only told that later because it was such a shocker and everybody thought it was so funny. So I had an immediate sense that she was an intruder in our lives, and I felt this. But I didn't feel this way about my brother because he didn't come along till I was 7 years old, so I understood that what was going on then. And I kind of like the idea of having a nuclear family, or as George Bush would say, a nuclear family. I realized that this was, and by the way, that's just getting back to the idea of pronouncing words in different parts of the country. Nuclear is the way it's pronounced in Texas. It is their way of pronouncing nuclear. So we're not going to have a nuclear war anytime in our future. Because they're waiting for a nuclear war. And getting out of the way here. Back to the topic. After the first person that we have you, then we have mom, then we have an extended family in the sense of our nuclear family. And that goes on for a while. And at the same time, there are events, be it Christmas, Thanksgiving, someone's birthday, whatever it might be, that the extended family, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, start coming forward. And we get to know them. I remember, and as many of you will, the first time you had you and your brothers, or you and your brother and sister and so forth, got together with these cousins and so forth, and enjoyed whatever it was. If your family was like my family and my extended family, everyone ate at the same table, and they set up a card table or card tables for the children. And we ate at a different portion. We didn't sit at the big table yet. So we would have these dinners and so forth, and it was just wonderful. I loved those. I loved being around my cousins and so forth. I remember one time, though, an older cousin of mine, when I was 3.5 years old, we had a little mom and pop grocery store that you could walk to. It was only like a half a block away. And they gave me some things and held them in my hand and said, "Here, go buy some candy with this. This is money." And I took off and I went down there and I asked him for all these things, and he poured the little lemon drops out into a little white bag, and he got all these things together. And then he said, "That'll be 85 cents." And I handed him the money. And it was just a bunch of leaves that they had given me. They were playing a little trick on me. And he said, "What?" And "Get out of here." And so but I still remember that. And I laugh at it now. I didn't laugh at it that day. I didn't get my candy, so I cried. But I remember that still to this very day, and think it was a funny joke now. But I didn't think it was so funny then. That was sort of the extent that you could get from this extended family. You can have things that you remember that are wonderful. You can remember things that you had that weren't so wonderful. Back in those days, we played cowboys and Indians a lot. So there was, we'd divide up and who got to be the cowboys and who got to be the Indians. And of course, in my family, most people wanted to be the Indians rather than the cowboys. But that's because of my heritage. And we had fun, but we knew from experience that the Indians were going to lose. So, but still we played it and we had fun doing it. We really did. It was fun any way you look at it, because we were all together. I can remember playing Ring Around the Rosie and all sorts of different little games that we played. Red Rover, let so-and-so come over. And we had to play that. And we had to play May I? Where it was like, take a step forward, and if you didn't say "may I," then you got taken out of the game. So forth. We played those kind of things. It was all wonderful experiences, and it helped us develop a sense of extended family. And at the same time that we were building this extended family, we were building traditions that carried forth. This is the way our family does it. This is the way our family thinks it. This is the way our family is. And it's the best. And it's the only real way to do things. As I was telling Neil earlier before we actually got started, one of the things that happened in my life is the nuts that came from the trees. We called them pecans. There were other people who didn't call them pecans. They called them pecans. And I thought, a pecan is something you use to urinate in the forest. That's what a pecan is. It's not a nut. And I thought there's something wrong with these people who pronounce this word incorrectly, because my family, the real family, the only true family, pronounces it pecan. It was only later that I realized, to have a little bit of liberal sense about me, and realize, well, it's just a different pronunciation for the same thing. No biggie. When you hear somebody say that, just nod and say, okay, I get it. But these traditions that we build, we carry with us for a long time. Now, the next thing that came in my life, particularly, was two things. First, church, Sunday school, going and meeting kids, other kids from all over our little small town that I grew up in. And they all came together and we sang little songs together, and we made things with clay, and we did things that was fun, while our parents went to regular church and we got to stay in Sunday school. And we met other people, and we decided who we liked, why, and we decided who we didn't like and why. And it usually had to do with one of two things. In my case, if they were girls, I didn't like them. If they were boys, I tried to get to know them a little bit better so that we could wrestle, fight, do something where we were in contention with one another, and always tried to have a winner one way or the other. Not the greatest idea of how to put life together, but I think it's pretty normal for boys to think that girls are icky at a certain age, and they probably think the same thing of boys. And then we get to a stage where that ickiness suddenly disappears. You don't know why. You just know that suddenly, hey, these girls, they're not so bad. There's a certain amount of attraction here that I don't know why I feel, but I do. And there's certain ones of them I like more than others, and that starts developing in our lives. The other thing that comes along is preschool, kindergarten, as we called it back then, and school. We develop certain ideas within these two types of organizations. Organizations come into our lives at this time: church and school. For some of you, it was church. For some of you, it was synagogue, whatever it might be. It was there. Or it wasn't. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if it wasn't there. But what is important is that we have these things. We have our nuclear family. We have our extended family. Then we have that where we build our traditions within that extended family. Then we have church and school, where we start developing ideas of organizations in our lives. Church has our life organized a certain way and helps us to build, good or bad, certain belief systems. These stay with us for a long time in our lives. After that comes school. And boy, is there some organization there. I've never understood why they would take a little small hand and put a giant pencil in it and try to teach you to write anything. Why not a small pencil instead of this big, heavy thing that's this big around? Why would they have that for a little small hand? But they did. And we were supposed to develop and learn a certain way of writing letters. I don't know which system you had, but ours was up on a black, and they were black back then, blackboard. They weren't green or any other color. And that blackboard had written on the top of it all the letters, and they had to be written a certain way. Had to be written a certain way. If they weren't written a certain way, you got demerits or you got little check marks or you didn't get your gold star to go up by your name and or whatever it might be. You didn't get the reward because you didn't spell the letter K correctly or the letter R correctly. Oh no, you can't have them touching at the bottom before you make that little leg on the side. It has to be separated. Oh, I'm sorry, but no, that on that E, you didn't extend the middle line out far enough, or you extended it too far. Now do it again, 20 times, 100 times, whatever it might be, until you got it exactly the way somebody else told you to do it. That was difficult for this guy's brain, me, but I didn't listen to my voice inside. I just thought, well, I'll do it this way. I can't tell you how liberated I felt when I suddenly got to an age where I could write it any way I wanted to, as long as it was still legible. I felt like I had been freed from some kind of, and I remember though it was that whole idea of that the letters were written by a woman called, I think, a teacher who put those on the board, and that was the standard grammar way of writing these letters was by a lady named Mrs. Kivlin, and it was Kivlin's Grammar School, who we were studying that. Stuck with me all these years. After church and school, as organizations, we finally grow to a certain place where we graduate and move on, and or quituate or whatever it might be that you did in your life. We get to a certain stage where we go out into the job market. Now, whatever job that it is that we think we are suited for, we begin the process by interview and so forth, and then we have to follow a new set of instructions developed by somebody else, and these are no longer have anything to do with our traditions or anything else. It is a way of doing the job, a way of doing it. And this way of doing it is very important in order for everything to be very uniformly concise for this company. It may be that we go from one job to another and we get there and we say in our minds or we say openly, well, the last job I went to, we didn't do it this way. And they will look at you at like, huh? And the whole idea of it being, we don't really care what they did, the way they did it in the other position you were in. We do it this way in our position, and if you want to stay with us, you'll do it that way. Oh, okay. So we start following things and we conform. We go from all of this into a sense where we start conforming. Now we've already been going through it all along, but maybe not as strongly as it is until we get into the job market. And suddenly conformation is extremely important for them to get along. Someplace along in here, be it before we get out of school or while we're in school or afterward, when we're in the job market, comes marriage. Marriage comes along and we develop an idea in our minds of how we expect our life to go on. Now, there's some conflict there because you have somebody coming from one family full of traditions and you're blending with them into your family full of traditions. And then it may be something of, well, that's not the way we did it in my family. Well, yeah, that's the way we did it in my family, and that's the way it's going to be. And we have to develop a sense of happy wife, happy life, or whatever it may be in order for us to get along and make sure that we have a good relationship with our partner in life. And we move forward in life that way. And some of the traditions that we held go by the wayside, or some of the traditions that we held remain. One of the great conflicts that comes along to where we have to make a decision one way or the other when it comes to marriage is Christmas. Well, now, Christmas in my family, we always had Christmas on Christmas Eve, and the extended family came together and we all exchanged presents, and we may or may not have a dinner, and but we had all the cousins and uncles and aunts, and the extended family was all there together. And we opened presents, and it was actually kind of fun. And we all look forward to it with excitement to see who got what, and enjoy things, and whether somebody liked the present you gave them and so forth. And then we went home and went to bed. As children, we went to bed, and Santa Claus came and brought us gifts, and we opened up those gifts given by Santa Claus on Christmas morning. And then for those of us who had a deeply religious feeling about it, we went to church on that day as well. Others didn't. I've been married more than once, and I know that there is a difference between the traditions in some families and others. Some of them, there's no conflict at all. Oh, we always open presents on, you opened presents on Christmas Eve. My family all got together and opened presents on Christmas Day. So that's no problem. We'll go to Christmas Eve to your family, Christmas Day to my family. However, what if they both have a conflict here because they both had a tradition of Christmas Eve opening presents? What do you do now? Well, do you alternate years? I'll take the even years, you take the odd years, and we'll go to your family on Christmas Eve, or we'll go to the other family on Christmas Eve. Somehow that all works out. I couldn't tell you exactly how, but it works out one way or another. The families always figure out a way to make that work, and that's wonderful. Some families have such dysfunction in their life that they don't want to meet with their extended family. They don't even want to meet with their nuclear family. They want to go with yours, and that's fine. However, it may work out. But here's the rub in all of this. Oh, a couple of other things. Well, no, I'll just continue on. The rub is that some of these things come to an end. They come to an end. As I was speaking earlier to Neil about, it hit me strongly in my heart, and I felt just a jolt through my body when my father died. My mother had already died, and my father died, and I suddenly realized I'm the head of my family. I'm the only one left. I have a younger sister, and that's it. My younger brother, 7 years younger, had already passed away. So there was just the two of us. And you know what happened from that experience? I felt loss. I felt an extreme loss inside when I realized that I'm the oldest one in the family, because I was still holding on so dearly to that nuclear family. It still meant a lot to me. Even though my parents had divorced and moved on and had other experiences in their life and so forth, I still looked upon that man as my father, my daddy, my dad. I still remembered all the things that had happened in our lives, and I had a full sense of loss of we. Because I didn't, why am I the last one? Why am I the head of the family now? What happened to the rest of the family? Oh, and the extended family had dispersed into all parts of the United States, all over the place. We no longer met. All of their parents had passed away, and there was just the cousins and so forth, and we rarely, if ever, got together. Wonderful thing called Facebook came along, and we can still stay sort of connected, but the idea of those experiences and those traditions had gone completely. Nothing was left of any of that. There was no sense of we in that way any longer. School, I thought when I graduated from high school that I would still come back and attend dances, and I would and I would go to all the football games, and I would go to everything that occurred. And I remember my saying something to my father about that, and he just laughed and said, "The time will come when you forget any of these people or who you graduated with or anything else. The time will come, and it's not going to be that important for you." And I thought, I didn't say it, of course, but I thought inside, you are wrong. You are so wrong. No, I will be friends with these people till my dying day. Well, he was right. It sort of faded away. Yeah, like I said, I can stay in touch with some of them on Facebook, but some of them, they try to friend me on Facebook, and I can't remember who they are. Can't remember them at all. Can't remember that I ever knew them. I did, but I just, Jane Rollins wants to be your friend. Who the heck is Jane Rollins? I look it up. Oh, she was Jane Ramsey. She changed her last name. Oh, that's why I don't know her. Okay, and were we deep friends? Not really. Do I want to be friends with this person and strike up a relationship? Not really. It's not important. We've kind of all moved on. Here's what I'm getting at. All these things change. Everything changes. Everything is supposed to change. It's not supposed to remain static. But we, as human beings, don't like change. We like things to stay the same because there is a certain amount of stability if nothing changes. There's a certain amount of being able to know what's going to come next if nothing changes. And that to us is comfort. So when things change, we feel uncomfortable. We lose our sense and center of comfort until we finally get to a place where, as I said, there are no longer any of these traditions are honored. There is no more extended family to count on or to know or to plan things with. There is no more church or school, which once we depended upon so much for stability, it doesn't take place any longer in our lives. The minister that we grew up with and listening to has either long ago retired or he or she is no longer present on the planet. The same with school. Oh, I do have one teacher that I still keep up with, but that's because she has such a beautiful, progressive mind. Her name is Georgia Sparks. She was my fourth grade teacher, and she and I connect. We really do. She is kind of a unity person. I don't know what she does, but she talks about God in terms of the universe and so forth when I connect with her on Facebook. And that does give me some kind of comfort. Why? Because some things have only deepened. They've only deepened. They've changed but deepened. And I like that. Marriages, some of them fail, some of them continue, some of them are very, very important. Some of them are no longer a part of our lives, marriage for ourselves or for our siblings or for our parents, any way you look at it. And the family has changed. In my family, I have daughters and a son, and they have separate lives. We are no longer connected. Never were deeply connected because I was no longer married to their mothers. But it was a connection that has sort of faded. I don't think it's disappeared, but it's morphed into something else. The love that we once experienced has changed into something else. And all I do is just say, God bless you. Enjoy your life. Have happiness in your life. That's what I wish for you, for all of you. But we get to this place where all of the we that we've experienced in our life has faded, has gone, has changed into something else. And every time this happens, every time there's a change in it, we stop, and maybe not on a surface level, but deep within us someplace, we ask ourselves, well, who am I now? I have identified so much with this nuclear family. I have identified with this extended family. I have identified with these schools and these traditions and these institutions. What has happened in my life? Who am I? And we have to ask ourselves, can I find me without all these things? Can I find out who I am and where I am? Can I find it? And the answer is yes. We can find me, because who I was, who each one of you were at the moment of your birth, is the extent of who you are waiting to expand in consciousness, in love, and in a sense of knowing about something that you may call God by whatever name, but you do truly understand, everyone must understand, that finding yourself means finding God, means finding the pure essence of who you are. Finding yourself is finding a new definition for the I am. I am. That's such an important thing. It's not I am because I have brothers and sisters. It's not I am because my last name is Dearmore. It's not I am because your last name is whatever it might be. It's not that at all. It's just strictly I am. Now, for some of us on this planet, like all of us in this room, we are in this cyber room, we are very aware of I am, but there are truly so many people out there who are still hanging on to these old traditions, fighting over them with other people who hold on to their traditions, fighting not only for being able to be dominant, but fighting to be the only one left. The king of the hill, the one who has subdued all others. Why? Because of some deep held belief in their minds and in their bodies and deep within their DNA makeup that tells them we are the ones. And they're hanging on so deeply to the we that they miss the idea of the me. They miss it. They never even identify with it. They identify only with the we. Moses was asked, or was Moses asked, I meant to say, the burning bush, who shall I say sent me? And the answer we get in the Bible is, I am. Tell them, I am sent you. Huh? Yeah, tell them that. Tell them that the very essence of all that is sent you. The very essence of all that is, the I am. So going back through life, we will always lose something in order to gain something. That is just the way of an expanded consciousness works. Now, the whole idea that we're trying to get to, and that all of life should be trying to get to, is this idea of holding a belief that we can learn. We can finally get to a point where we accept that there is no we. We can do that, but only individually, because the individual consciousness is what we're really striving for. We're striving to get to a place of pure, released, and freed consciousness, free from the limitations of we, free from all of these things without destroying anything, just allowing it to morph into whatever is happening next in our lives. I hope you got something out of this, realizing that there is a better way of looking at life than just hanging on to the old and not accepting the new. Give it a try. Give it a try in your life, and realize if you get to a place where you feel some loss and discomfort, that'll pass. It'll all pass. God bless.